Hey guys, so it's been a year next week and about 500 or so, probably more, runs down the hill and at least 500 miles cross country on the trail. So let's take the time. I'm going to take you back through and show you what things look like a year into this Commencal Meta AM 29 Ohlins version. Thanks, guys. So let's do a repeat of what we did last time. We'll start from the front and go to the back, talk about what's changed and what hasn't. So first off, Magic Mary and the Big Betty tire setup. So Magic Mary up in the front was a little unsure how it was going to be with the two separate tires, a dedicated rear, and kind of an all-around front. And I have to say I'm impressed. And it's funny, I've waited until I did this video to switch these tires out. You'll see the back tires ready to go. I'm going to do that right after this, but I figured, what we got this far, what does a year look like on these Schwalbe tires? This is the Addicts soft compound. Really been impressed. Definitely can feel the rear, as I said, as it gets lighter and more worn down, but been super happy. Also super happy with these DT Swiss wheels. I know these are not the top of the line. These are just the 350. But I'll tell you, they've performed well. Again, a lot of downhill runs on this bike, a lot of beating it up, and even the rims. I've got a few hits. I'll have to say part of that probably is the sidewall on these Schwalbes. I've been really impressed with that. It's helped keep the hits off, but really pretty good. Second set of rotors, burned through a set of rotors. I did run the metallic pads for a while on the brakes, and then, things are hard to find with COVID, so ran the brakes as they were with the metallic. I think that helped me burn through the rotors. But so these are a new set of rotors. I have 2 or 3 rides on them, so got almost a year out of the rotors before I cooked them. And again, part of that's on me for the metallic pads, leaving the metallic pads on until they were done before switching over to resin. If you're riding a lot of park, my advice is to make that switch to resin. I think the brake modulation is a lot better, and they're a lot easier on everything because you're on the brakes so much. The big thing up front, the Fox 38, the Ohlins fork. I do a lot of riding. Even today, I did 6 hot laps, just down and back, down and back, down and back. I couldn't get in 1 or 2 laps. They were so bad that I was worried I'd broken something or pulled something in my arms. I tried everything and finally contacted the Ohlins. And they said, hey, look, it's the way they're jetted. We can rejet them for you, the rebound, if you like. And given all of what's going on, I found these Fox 38s. These are the new 2021s. These are the Performance Elite. So same as the factory, but without the cashmere coat. These have been an awesome upgrade for me. Really happy with these. Not that I wasn't happy with the Ohlins fork. Let me be clear. It did all the things it was supposed to do. I'm riding a lot. I'm not racing. It is a race fork, and it shows, right? So I'm not gonna say it was terrible, but just didn't work for me. So been really happy with this Fox. And if you remember, on the Ohlins, I used the Race Products full fender. One of the challenges I ran into that, which is interesting, is I have a quad rack where the rack comes down right here. I had to take that off whenever I racked the bike, so not real practical. Super happy with these new Foxes with the atmospheric open, right? Lets me change when I'm coming sea level and up here to the mountain. Change the atmospheric conditions inside of here, so the fender bolts onto that. It does keep a lot of the muck out and comes right here. And best of all, I can sit that on my rack and not have to worry about that fender. So super impressed there. In trying to get the front end to be more compliant and not beat me up so bad, I did go to a carbon set of bars and a Fun Products head here, stem. Excuse me. I was trying to get rid of some of the vibrations with the carbon bars. I don't know how long I'll keep these at as much park as I do. Right, I do not want to break a set of carbon bars. These are the race face downhill bars, so much stiffer. I've had no problems, but you know, something to keep an eye on. And the Alpha headset stem that was on here from Commencal, so that's their factory brand, was a 0 clamp, right? So I think the top on the Alpha, Ride Alpha, asked you to clamp it down 100%, right? So crank it down all the way tight, and then tighten just down the other two. You would tighten. It kept coming loose on me. I realized I could have, you know, used some kind of thread locker. Just, you know, thread locker on a stem, that just seemed kind of crazy. So, you know, relatively easy while I was in here and switching out the bars anyway. Switch the stem out. So I did switch the stem out. You'll see I've got my little alien guy on here now. This is the Niner You Are What You Drink top cap, so you can swap in a cap. The rest of this was the same. Haven't had to switch anything out. So the bike itself, again, I spent a lot of time here riding on the mountain here. It's a volcanic mountain. There's no clear coat on the paint. I don't know if you can see it here or not, but it's, as I go to wash it and wipe it down, it's showing a lot of scratches. It's not a big deal. I mean, you know, it's a bike. It's gonna get pretty beat up, but just interesting, you know, that I suppose I could probably buff that out, but notice that it's noticeably getting some kind of micro scratches in it. But love the paint job. Everyone still comments on this. Everybody realizes, you know, this is the new one. This is the Commencal factory colors, which is kind of cool. The shock, the Ohlins shock, this has been fantastic. So unlike the fork, this is just, I absolutely love this. And again, as I said, on the fork, that's, I guess, my riding style. I'll comment that down. You know, a lot of you commented on the first video. They said, hey, look, you ran this thing down way too far. To be clear, this is kind of how it came from the factory set up. I think I maybe added a quarter turn on this. So this is normal, I guess, is my point. I didn't do a whole lot here. And that's been pretty awesome. It has been set it and forget it. You know, the 3 positions, but set it, forget it. Very compliant, and super happy with this rear shock. And frankly, this whole rear setup, the way this is, has been fantastic. I don't feel like I don't get a lot of buzz, even though this is a 29er and I'll ride that seat way down, right? I'm not getting a lot of butt buzz. And love the way that the suspension on this works. Down tube, right? Got some hits. I think right here, noticeably, but not bad. This has been really nice. Their plastic piece that comes up, and you can take this off to clean it. Has done a really good job. Lots of rocks, lots of hits, and I think only one really knock to the down tube that was up higher than that. I had this fun bash guard from the beginning. We'll get to the derailleur. I've had some derailleur issues, and I think that's a COVID part issue. We'll talk about that. But I did not initially put the chain guide on. Just like, why would I need it? But I did end up putting the chain guide, and I can't, again, super happy. This is a really small, you can see, really small and really lightweight chain guard, and bash guard, chain guide, excuse me, bash guard. They're 2 pieces, but they come as a kit. Or you can, I think the chain guide comes with all the pieces to offset the bash guard and make it one big thing. So fairly lightweight, fairly inexpensive. Been super happy, and after dropping the chain a few times at high speed coming down the hill, glad to have a chain guide. And I guess that's going to be a recommendation. I thought I could get away without having it, but no, I'm going to recommend that if you're doing a lot of park riding. I did talk initially about, you know, would I go to the Saints? These XTR kind of platforms have been fantastic for me. I tried the Saints for a little bit. It was overkill. I think this is totally adequate. The right shoe combination, and super happy with that. Running muck off, dry lube. I need to clean the chain. Super happy with the muck off. Tried a bunch of different lubes, and that seems to work the best. Again, a lot of volcanic dust when I'm riding up here on the mountain. So let's talk about the derailleur. Second derailleur, relatively inexpensive, $118 US, I think, for a derailleur. This is what came on here. This is the XT, not the XTR. But really interesting thing, I think, and worth mentioning. I'd never run into this before. The clutch, it was acting like the clutch had failed. So you take the clutch off. This was not returning. The cage was not returning, so I was getting this slack chain. Did a clutch service on it, and it didn't really fix it. So I did find another one. I ordered another one, and then I dismantled the one that was on here. Well, on the back side, right, so it is user serviceable. You can take it apart. If you take the clutch out, take the derailleur off, ideally take the clutch out. The clutch sits on an axle for the cage, a cage axle, and it uses a little bit of grease on the cage side, right? You're supposed to no grease at all on the clutch or it won't work, but grease on the other part that sits through right here. That had never, I'm going to say it had never been put on in the Shimano factory, so I'm going to call it a COVID part. And what had happened is it had literally started to heat weld itself together, and that's why it wouldn't return. Even though this is a pretty stiff spring, that had just gotten hot from all the riding with no grease, and seized up. I had to use a punch to get it out, right? I should have saved it. I ditched it because it wasn't anything salvageable. But just some FYI, right? As we're in COVID, you know, there's a bike part shortage. Parts are hard to find. Interesting for me to think, you know, again, a little one dab of grease was all it took. And without that dab of grease, you know, this failed. Not a huge deal, right? Relatively easy to fix. Replace the derailleur. I'm back in business, but worth mentioning that happened. Also, back to failed parts. I had these are the XT brakes, and they use ceramic pistons. One of the ceramic pistons, I took a knock, and one of the ceramic pistons had cracked, and it was kind of game over. So again, I had to find a new rear caliper for the brakes, because I broke I hit it so hard that the ceramic broke. So surprising, but stuff happens, right? And we ride hard, stuff happens. Some minor nitpicks. You know, I own a couple other different bikes, and this has been fantastic, this big piece of rubber here. But it's also interesting to note that it's a little shy. Right here, I've got some Gorilla Tape, you can see. And right under here as well, this is a little shy. And again, as much riding, hard riding as I do, it's battering the chain pretty hard. So less concerned about the body of the bike and more concerned about chain longevity. I don't want that chain smacking over and over again into the aluminum here and you know, damaging it. So the drivetrain outside of the failure for the derailleur has been fantastic. You can see we're not chewed up that bad on the, again, I need to probably clean this, clean it off a little bit. Been a lot of mud and stuff up here, but do run kind of a dry lube, so relatively clean, and you can see not that worn out. Same here on the front chain ring. Not too bad. The rear tire, I said, you know, we would talk about the Big Betty. Been super happy with the Big Betty, and again, happy with these hubs and wheels set up out of the gate. She's getting pretty threadbare. As I said, I'm going to switch this out. I think right after this I would run it. I wanted to run it and say, here's what a year looks like. Again, 500 or so downhill laps and at least 500 miles cross country. Not bad, but I think time to go. Time to go. The dropper post and the seat, the fabric seat, I think you can see here I've got a little wear on the fabric seat on the side. Again, when I'm doing downhill, right, the seat is more of a guide, and you know, my sit bones are actually way back here off of it. So this is probably me rubbing the inside of my thighs. I've worn out a pair of Troy Lee Sprint shorts, so you know, the shorts are worn out. The saddle's done pretty well for all that. So saddle's been pretty good, and this dropper post has been fantastic. Does its job and well, and again, not been easy on this bike at all. I think that's about it. It's soup to nuts. So I did stick with the ergon grips. I know I'd asked you guys in the beginning. I kind of got these set up right, the cockpit set up just right after a while, where I think they work pretty well up and down. These are the really small GA3s. Yeah. Not bad. But all in all, there you go. The frame, the suspension, with the with me changing out the front fork, has been fantastic. But the geometry, this is a large. I'm 6 foot with about 32-inch inseam. Been super happy. Very fast, very nimble, very agile bike, and you know, no huge problems and regrets. I'm gonna say no. It's been a fun year with this bike. So hey, thanks a lot for watching, and hope this helped you guys out in some way. Thanks.